So what then does a GT430 actually weigh? I can think of one or two people that will be fast forwarding straight to the result, but for those of you with the patience, I will just talk you through where the car should be and how that compares to what it weighed on the scales. The factory claim for this car was 1299 kilos, so call that 1300. Now that is the lightest possible wet weight for the car. What you need to know is that this particular car was specced with air conditioning and sound deadening. Now those two combined are said to be worth about 20 kilos. So the best possible result for this car would be about 1320 kilos on the scales. However, what we don't know is how much fuel is included in that wet weight figure. With a tank capacity of about 60 litres, that is worth around 45 kilos in fuel. So it does make quite a big difference between half full of fuel, a quarter tank, or a brim full fuel tank. Now in the case of this car, I made sure that it was absolutely brim full of fuel. I stopped for petrol just before getting to the scales. So this is just to show you that the tank was full at the time the car was weighed. So the figure we're looking for is somewhere between 1320 kilos and 1365 kilos, depending on how much fuel Lotus use in the cars when they weigh them. Now anything over 1365 kilos would be disappointing and evidence that Lotus had not been as accurate as they should be with their weight figures. So here she is then on the scales. This is just before we've lowered the car down onto the scales. You can see there are 4 pads under each wheel. This was all done at Abbey Motorsport, which are not a Lotus affiliated place in any way, using properly calibrated equipment. So here then is the result. So it finally settled at just a fraction over 1356 kilos. Now overall I don't think that's a bad result. It's nearly 100 kilos lighter than something like a Ford Focus ST. Now the weight pads were the wrong way round on the left hand side, but what it does show you is that the car has just over 820 kilos over the rear axle and just over 530 kilos on the front axle. Now I have to say I was really impressed that the difference between the two sides at the rear was just over 13 kilos, and as you can see the difference at the front was only a kilo between the left and the right side. That meant we didn't even need to corner weight the car, which I think is very impressive for a standard factory setup. It does suggest that Lotus's wet weight figures include little or no fuel. I do believe I still have speakers in the doors and tweeters, even though I don't have a head unit. So maybe there are a few things like that which aren't accounted for in the official factory weight figure. However, I don't feel it's a million miles away from where it should be. Compared to many other car companies, I'd say this was one of the more accurate results. However, it does also suggest that a GT430 specced with the Sparco seats and the stereo head unit would come to just over 1390 kilos. Now that rather puts in doubt Lotus's claim for the Evora 400, which was 1395 kilos. Now on the one hand, the GT430s have loads of carbon panels, a lithium-ion battery and of course a titanium exhaust. On the other hand, there must have been real weight savings across the car to offset the extra aero parts and the larger wheels and tyres. Even though it's made of carbon, you can really feel the extra weight of that rear wing compared to when you lift up the tailgate of a Sport 410, for example. As you can see though, I've had the pleasure of many laps in the company of another GT430, which is equipped with the heavier Sparco seats and stereo head unit, and I can assure everyone watching that there is absolutely no straight line performance penalty to pay. The two cars are absolutely identical on the straights and everywhere else around the circuit as far as I can tell. So there you have it, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching.